Welcome to the Lake Forest Podcast, a podcast about the lovely city of Lake Forest, featuring topics like local news, sports, music, people, and food. My name is Pete, and I'm joined with the voice of the Lake Forest football and basketball scouts, Skoo Walker. How you doing, Skoo?
I'm doing good, Pete. How are you for this Friday?
Is that your walk-on music?
It's Friday, and it's cold.
How cold is it, Skoo?
Well, it's... I gotta watch what I say. It's cold. Real cold. Like disappearing cold of certain things.
You know, it was cold this morning, but...
What comes to mind?
Oops, shrinkage.
That's how cold it is.
But there was no wind, so it was okay. It was okay, at least, you know, around 5:30.
I gotta agree with you. That wind this past week just kind of ripped through my body.
You know, it's not as cold as that polar vortex, but for some reason it just feels, rough.
I walked in yesterday and I thought, oh God, there's no wind. And then I turned the corner.
Whoosh.
It hit me in the side of the face. It's like it just went through my body, like back in my high school baseball days of playing in sub 30 degree weather and have to hit a ball when they throw it on your hands and your whole body.
Oh God,
vibrating.
You get the bees.
Oh yeah.
Oh, you know where?
Speaking of that, I had my senior year.
Yeah.
I think it was our opening game against Zion, and the pitcher who later went on to pitch in the Dodgers system. This dude.
Wait, hold on.
Brought it like 90.
He had glowing reviews. Keep going.
That's right. That's true. And it was just like, and I was leading off, and it was just like, you know, I think it was, I can't remember what pitch it was. All I remember was I got sawed off, and you got to remember back in 82, the aluminum bats weren't really like aluminum bats like they are today. I mean, when it said it was a 34 ounce weight, it was 34 ounces as opposed to a 34-inch bat that weighs 12 ounces today.
Yeah.
And he hit me on the handle, and I swear to God, it went right. I fouled it off, luckily, but it was like my whole body. I was done. I wasn't even out yet. I was just like, I can't hit anymore. And it was like holding a lead pipe. And again, I think my teeth were shattering too. I mean, it was just like the worst. And I was going back, and so because I don't know if I struck out or whatever I did, but going back, and they say, well, how fast? You got to be kidding. It's not fast, and how much it hurts when you even make contact.
Yeah, you don't hit it.
That's how cold it was.
You know, well, Skoo, you know where it's not cold?
Yeah, where? Let me guess. The Shark Guy.
Florida. Shark Guy Beach Fishing is the premier South Florida beach fishing experience out of Longboat Key, Florida. Skoo, they're world-renowned captains not only put you on the fish, but they'll help you and your family make a memory of a lifetime. Check them out on Facebook or at sharkguybeachfishing.com to schedule an outing. Skoo, Shark Guy is your guy for your next charter. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters. Reverend Luke back from the Church of the Holy Spirit. Matt A. Elizabeth B. Costa, Lance Otto, and new supporter we'd like to welcome Art M. Welcome aboard, Art M, whoever you are. Thank you for stopping by.
Or Artem.
Artem,
new one.
We
need more people. Patreons.
Yeah.
That right word, Patreon or Patreon?
Patreon. Yeah, it's pay up, you cheapskates listening to us on a Saturday morning. Come on now. Break out that dollar. That Somalian.
There you go.
You like that? See how I pulled
I
that
like
out
that.
there, Skoo?
Somalian or Somalian, depending on where
Somalian,
you're from.
Somalian. Depends which side of the city or the tracks, east or west.
That's true too.
So, Skoo, what I'm going to do is go down my little list here of what people have emailed me. Doesn't mean that, we're picking the topics. It's just this is what's going on in town, right? Don't kill the messenger. Okay, city council meeting. We had that this week, didn't we?
Yeah, I did dove into that. I was bored. Flipped it on channel 17 and took a listen. Can't wait to get back in person as opposed to Zooming, but it is what it is.
I did hear Nancy Novitt chime in about working. I don't know if she was chiming into the mayor or whoever, but talking about how, pardon me?
I missed that.
Yeah. Well, Nancy, she's going to be, or soon to be Alderman Nancy, unless someone steps up for Ward 1. But she was piping in on the lawsuits for HPC, how people don't want to be a part of it.
Part of the lawsuit?
Well, yeah, the city will cover, the council people, but they won't cover, the people that speak up in the meeting. So she
shouldn't. Right? I mean,
I don't know if they should or they shouldn't. That's what I heard, because see, I listened to the whole thing, Skoo.
I fell asleep.
And then and then at the very end, our favorite guy over at the Legion came on. Well, I don't know if he really came on because his internet wasn't working, but talking about the project that they have for the memorial.
The park? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be nice.
And what's kind of interesting? The cost of that thing is $300,000, just right at $300,000. It's unbelievable. So they need a loan to get the tile. So that's what I heard. They got some kind of tile that I got to put in. I think the city's got to give them a $37,000 loan to cover the tile.
That's great.
Let's see what else. Oh, jury duty. Did that?
You did?
Yeah.
You had to Zoom?
First, no, I was in there, man.
Nice.
Little PSA, get there early. So you always get a desk with an outlet so you can run your laptop. But I've always been impressed with Lake County court system there. Obviously, depending on which side of the, if you're on the left or the right side, the left or right side of the judge, but so
how many times have you done jury duty?
Lake County was the first time.
Wow.
The other ones were Cook County, and you just call in, and my number never came up, but sure enough, Lake County. So my number came up, went in, and they said, okay, the following numbers have to stay to come back after lunch. So this is like 10 o'clock. Number, my number.
Oh.
So I'm like, oh, geez. So I
had my number called once, and then I got to the interview process, and then they escorted me out.
Escorted you out?
No. Well, they said I could leave.
Oh,
okay. I was a conflict.
Conflict of interest?
Yeah. Which, surprise. I've been told that a couple times lately.
Do tell.
No.
All right. So jury duty, you know what? Wasn't that bad. I didn't try to get out of it. I stuck it out. It was pretty cold, man. It was pretty cold.
What was your case?
There were two cases, and I guess the way it works is that I guess nothing's changes. They just keep you around as a threat to the defendant that, if you don't settle, then.
So you didn't have to go to, the case didn't go to jury.
No, I think they get like two cases a day, and they have you there. But the nice thing about it was that since I stuck around, I didn't have to do it for the rest of the week. The other people that went home early, they're at risk of coming back in the next day. So, but wasn't that bad. Wasn't that bad. Hey, Skoo, talk to me about Lake Forest basketball. They're 14-5, 6-0. They just beat Deerfield.
Right.
And if they got such a good record, how can they be in third place?
Probably because they haven't played. Who's ahead of them? I don't know exactly off the top of my head who's ahead of them.
All right.
But they're a really good team. Quick, big, can light it up. And but Phil's had a good record the last 5 to 10 years of talent coming through, and he gets them motivated. He gets the program going. I mean, they're fun to watch. They're fun to watch. I haven't done much of I think I've done maybe 2 or 3 games just because they haven't been home, but they're going to be home starting next week for a, good string. So, get out and, see them. Asa Thomas is their big gunners, 6'7", and can, step over half court. He's throwing it up.
He got 23 points and 5 rebounds. That's good.
He's more the outside guy, but he can. Their last home game, I think he had, about probably 3 or 4 dunks and several 3-pointers. So he's definitely inside outside, and they just got an all around good, quick. Phil's whole philosophy is defense and stopping. Don't let them score a certain number of points and we can beat them. And it's great. They plug it in, and they got some good players around them, and they're fun to watch. So come out and see them. I mean, the girls are fun to watch too. They're they're doing well. I'm not sure again what their record is, but they've won several games, and I think they're competing in the conference, upper group, but obviously not what they used to be a couple of years ago with, the talent they had, but they got some good talent, and just fun to watch too. You got it going too. So the Scouts got it. The basketball, both girls and guys, are fun to watch. Come out and watch. You can come in. Fans are being let in, and it's fun.
Got to chew on that mask through the whole time.
That's the funniest thing. These poor kids got to wear masks running up and down the court, but I think 90% of them are chin straps. So
yeah,
I think the funniest thing is with the masks is someone created for the refs are all masked up, but a lot of them have the hand
around
whistle.
the neck. Oh.
No, they have a hand whistle, so they're actually blowing it with their hand and not, in the mouth. And, hey, more power to someone who created that. But it's kind of funny as you see some of the refs like, a little short on the whistle. And
yeah,
but it's fun. It's bizarre. It's just bizarre. I don't know how you run up and down a court.
Me being a fair weather fan, I've been to a lot of basketball games. What is it like calling the games? Are you like on the court, or like do you wear the mask there? How do you do that?
Well, I sit behind the scorers table in the visitors section, so that's always fun to be in the visitors section and people complaining and yelling and all that stuff. But try to keep the mask on as much as it's just, no one sits around me.
Right.
Well, some do. But you can't get the mask on, you can't hear anything. So I'm pulling it down, putting it up, pulling it down, and it's crazy. Yeah. But I think it's fun sitting in the visitor section, especially when Lake Forest is spanking a team.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
You get to see all the plays being drawn up?
They're all, the teams are on the visitor side. They used to be on the home side, but years ago, they switched the scoreboard and everything to the visitor side. So, you get to, you listen into, both sides, home and away, strategizing and all that. So it's fun, I'm a big basketball guy, so that's fun to listen to how they're grading plays and all that.
Okay, the next email I got, I guess the city of Lake Forest did their own survey. They asked what their favorite Lake Forest winter activity is.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Here are the rankings, Skoo. Ice skating at the West Park Ice Rink, 39.5%. Go figure. What a coincidence.
Too bad I don't have the toboggan hill.
Cross country skiing, I know you're a big proponent of that, was 23%.
Love that.
Hiking was about 20. Sledding, 13. Other, 5%. I wonder what the other is. Skitching.
Skitching, snow angels. Hey, I tell you what, I've said this when I was on the rec board and before that. You laugh. There used to be a toboggan hill over at the golf. There's right behind the 16th fairway. There's a big, disgusting grass hill up there. That used to be a toboggan hill. They had toboggan chutes. You go down 2 chutes, and then you have on the side, you'd sled down there, which was a riot growing up and all that. The liability issues. But boy, they should utilize Deer Path Golf Course. They used to cross country ski there and rent skis. I don't know if the rec still rents cross country skis, but now that you have the entire golf course paved for cart paths, what a great opportunity. I think they're missing on it is, they can have that golf course open for sledding down that hill. They could even freeze, the 18th pond and have it skating and just a whole myriad of winter activities out at the golf course and utilize the clubhouse, warming house, hot chocolate, that type of stuff. But, there's all different issues. Boy, I tell you what, that would be fun, to have everything out there. And, but West Park, man, that's well, we talked about it last time. They used to have a whole bunch of stuff there.
Yeah, interesting.
Barrel jumping, skating races, all that.
You ever jump any barrels?
Oh, I saw people.
Just fences?
Neighbor I grew up with, he actually won it a couple times, but he was a professional speed skater and all. But yeah, they don't do that stuff anymore. But
man, you need thighs for that, man. Holy cow! Ooh.
I mean, they weren't just skating races; they were serious skaters racing. I mean, the whole rink, But
remember,
we don't do that. Oh yeah, we don't do that anymore. No one wants to go outside, which is too bad.
Well, ice skating with that mask on. This isn't an email, but something I noticed as I was shivering down the street. Caputo's is kaput.
Oh yeah, that's been that way for a while.
Really?
Yeah. Caputo left. He sold it to Frank Visconti, and he opened up Visconti's, which was similar to Caputo's, but then that thing bellied up.
Well, I looked them up, and they're in Melrose Park.
Well, that's their main place. That's where they really do all their business, and they opened up here in Lake Forest several years ago as a kind of offshoot of that. And now they just, I guess what I heard was they were focusing on more of the main business than anything. So, but Caputo, that was a big loss. That was a great little shop with cheese and everything, I thought. But a lot of people loved it. And now they're trying to find someone in there. I think they had somebody, and now that didn't work out, and now they're looking for, Lantern should move there.
Oh, how's Costa doing over there? Here,
haven't been in there in a while, but I saw him a couple weeks ago. They're doing good. Costa, they're back open.
Costa, we know you're not listening. Hope you're doing well, buddy. Okay, back to an email.
Yeah.
They got lady supplies in the high school washrooms, both all washrooms.
What?
Lady supplies.
What do you mean in all washrooms?
boys and girls washrooms. If there's, yeah, and they're free.
What do you mean?
How could it be more descriptive? I don't know.
Why would lady supplies be in a guy's bathroom?
Because certain people don't check either box. So,
okay.
My bad. You know what I mean? So, way to go, Skoo.
It's early morning. I'm sorry, I did not process that. I'll have to check it out this evening. I got a girls' game tonight.
I don't know. They sent that over. Okay, that's
someone sent that over to you in an email.
Yeah.
Pete, there's lady supplies in all bathrooms.
Something you may want to mention that you can buy. I'm not saying the word because I have
Do they have guy supplies in the girls' bathroom?
It's not on the email.
Cologne and all that stuff.
Vermishave. This is my note. Brian Flores from the Dolphins. Bears were checking him out. I hear he might be a Ditka type. He could be a good one. A good one.
Got fired. I think the Bears should stay away from,
football.
People disagree. No, they already are. They need to stay away from these fired coaches. I don't care if they're great. They just got fired. Why are you?
Well,
I don't care what the issue was. You got fired. You know what they should hire? I said this from before Pace. I said they should. I'm not sure if you watch ESPN and all that, but Louis Riddick used to be in a lot of the front office type stuff, played in the NFL, and now he's a commentator. I think he would be. I don't know why he keeps being overlooked as a GM when he clearly has the stuff, unless he doesn't want to do it. But boy, he would be a great GM, my opinion. And they should go after as a coach, because it's similar to, I think, what the McCaskies always have wanted since Ditka. And now he has he's turned a college program around, so he knows how to work with young guys now. Who do you think I'm going to say?
No idea, Skoo.
Now I just forgot.
Well, you brought up ESPN, so I was going to say.
No, it is. Oh God.
Well, here, let your rattled brain get unrattled. I hear Herm Edwards is getting a.
That's who I was just going to say. Yes, Herm Edwards. That's who I was.
I didn't know he was coaching college, though.
Arizona State.
Oh, really?
See how bad I am? I had a great lead in and I forgot Herm Edwards. I think those two would be phenomenal and turn the Bears around in heartbeat. But, the other thing is, I think it's funny that the Bears, but only the Bears, right? They're frickin' interviewing head coaches before the GM. Now, if I was a GM, why would I even want to go to a place where I'm really not making the decision? Now, hopefully they don't do that, but just seems like, why do you, if you have a GM position, why are you interviewing the coaches first? I get it. I know that they're going to be gone, but
I think the Bears told Flores that he was going to have a say in the GM.
Yeah, but isn't that backwards? I mean, go in the guy's washroom and let me know. I mean, who in the world? I mean, let's put out the business. We have a senior management position open, and the CEO just left, but we're going to hire the senior manager and let him have an input on who the CEO is. I mean,
then you get into what's his face's argument where the chef wants to be able to buy the groceries, So
whose argument is that? I think it's how about
Rex Ryan?
Where's Rex Ryan?
He ain't ESPN.
Yeah. But isn't that the problem? I mean, hire the GM and make it clear. The GM runs the show from the business, and the coach. Actually, I know he's a CEO, so to speak, as they say, of the team, but he reports to the GM. At least that's how I understand it.
Well,
so you have, I don't know. I
look at Green Bay. Who runs the show there?
Fans.
Aaron Rodgers.
Right. But
so you got a good quarterback.
But that's elite, though. That's. I mean,
you got to find elite. Yeah.
Tom Brady is probably the only other one. No one else. But those guys are going. You're not going to get those types of players anymore because they're all. I don't know.
What?
I think the Bears. They need to sign a solid GM that go. How about Dallas? I think Jerry Jones. I mean, come on. He's hiring people that only are not afraid to say no to him. Right?
Everybody likes yes men or women.
I mean, come on. An owner, stay out of the day-to-day business if you're going to hire a GM, or you be the GM, owner GM. I don't know. I think the Bears, that's their problem too.
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's going to change, Skoo. Speaking of which,
they just make so much money.
Tuesday.
Like the Cubs, they suck. They still make money.
It's a nice segue. Tuesday, the voting for Caucus.
Oh, yay.
We're going to vote for, do you know who TBD is? He's a very popular candidate.
Yeah, I think he is or she is.
Tom Bobby Donaldson.
Yeah, I think that's the person that always shows why there's indecision and all that, because that person always seems to get the nod on stuff. Oh, Pete, you're gonna drag me in, aren't you?
Why wasn't our last names TBD?
So what's TBD in the caucus voting?
Well, I'm just looking at the website, and this is what we're voting on, TBD.
Oh, Jesus.
Well, here, hold on. I'll take a little look here, Skoo. I want to be fair. Because some people say I hold a grudge, and that's just not true.
You don't hold a grudge, Pete. No. How do you hold a grudge? If you can't play on their team or someone's team, and they say, you're out, holding grudges are too hard to do.
It's like hating somebody. They're living in your head, paying no rent.
Right. And the only thing that hurts is you.
Exactly. Okay, meet our alderman candidates so we can see who the candidates are. Nancy Novid, who spoke up at that council meeting for Ward 1. Ward 2, Ted Notes. Ward 3, Jim Preschlack. Ward 4, Eileen Luby Weber.
Wow.
Well, I mean, it's
quite a few.
And then we'll look at the annual meeting. Kim Fall, caucus president, will present an update on current caucus committee activities, including recruiting for city boards and commissions. But there isn't any executive board nominations.
Well, I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but that's not going to be. They're not going to vote on that, or if they do, they're probably going to vote and say, okay, here's the next slate.
All right, fair enough.
But you don't have a chance to vote on it. This is what it is.
January 25th from 3 to 8 p.m. Skoo, do you want to go together and vote?
3 to 8? Do you
Voting
say
at
3
Gordon-
to 8?
Voting at Gorton Community Center from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. The annual meeting at Gorton and streamed on YouTube at 7 p.m.
What's the voting? That's what I don't know. 3 to 8, you can vote for what?
I believe that would be the alderman, and I thought you would be voting on the executive board nominations.
That's weird. I thought the aldermen are voted by the entire community, and that's been pushed to like June or July. Am I missing something? I haven't been on the caucus in so long that
I'm on the website. There's a lot of updates on it here now.
well, of course you left.
Come on,
They
Steve.
took all your input and said
They can
leave,
have all
and-
the endpoints they want.
I 3 to 8. I don't get that. Voting for 5 hours for
Well, people can't make it at certain times, so you go in there when you can make it, right?
no. What do you? I don't think they're voting for the aldermen. The aldermen have to go in front of the entire. No,
Well, here, let me go through it one more time.
aldermanic elections are.
In the spring or June or whatever.
Well, yeah.
So the question is, what are we voting on Tuesday?
Yeah. Well, what are we voting on at 3 to 8? And I guarantee you, 99% of the community has no idea what voting for 5 hours is a voting. I've never heard of that. But again, things have changed so much on that caucus committee that, I can't.
I'm not throwing shade. I'm just,
No, I'm just saying, I mean, shouldn't they have what you're voting for? If they allocated a 5 hour window to vote? And if it's such a big issue, why is that? Why are you and I talking about it? No one else in the community is. That seems weird that there's a 5 hour allocation to vote and there's no real input on what you're going to vote for.
TBD, Skoo.
Oh, it's TBD.
No, that's been updated. I'm not sure. Let me look on, maybe Facebook will have something.
Yeah, I doubt
See,
it.
Skoo, I mean, we're not trying to cause any trouble. I'm just, I'm acting like a citizen, vote.
Yeah, what are we voting for 5 hours window that you can? And I know the response will probably be, those guys are they don't know anything, and they're always.
Well, that's true. We don't. Well,
yeah, we're free to admit it.
All right. So we go to Lake Forest Facebook caucus.
So are we going to talk about all those emails or one at a time or what? What do you want to do?
I went through all my emails.
Oh, okay.
No, I'm done. This is my observation of trying to figure out what we're voting on.
I like to go back to those and talk about them.
So
Nancy,
did you ever interview for anything, Skoo?
I did, as a matter of fact. I
What?
interviewed. I was asked or referred to the caucus to interview for the Plan Commission, didn't get. And then most recently, the HPC Historic Preservation Commission made it through. Well, I had a caucus, third ward caucus meeting, and not all 9 people were there, which is not out of the ordinary, but actually got moved up to the full caucus.
Yeah.
And thought it went well, but then I was told they voted that Tuesday night, and I wasn't told anything until a week later. I had to call my third ward guy, say, hey, what's going on? I know that's been a urgency to, fill these 3 HPC spots because they can't meet. But
well, it's like people are jumping up and down to get on that thing to get sued. So,
well, I mean, we can talk about all that. I don't think, well,
I'm saying they're looking for people, so I would imagine.
Right. And I thought I was qualified, being a past caucus committee member, ward chair, was on the rec board, and was asked to serve on different subcommittees. One in particular was the Iowa Farms master plan that I was on with the current mayor George, and did some good things there. But my ward chair, because no one from the caucus felt they needed to respond to the people that took time to interview and give them a status. But I called my third ward chair and said, "Hey, what's going on? I haven't heard anything." And he said, "Oh yeah, you didn't get it. You're not qualified." He actually said, "I'm not qualified." And we took someone that was an architect, and you're not an architect. And I said, "Wow, really?" And he said, "We had some other people." And it's kind of funny. I was like, but Skoo, we're going to pass your name around to other ward chairs and, see if there's other spots that you can serve. And I'm like, I know that, it's so funny. It's like, does anyone ever look at these resumes that we fill out, or what are they called? The profile sheets. They're throwing stuff at me like I wasn't on the caucus committee, like I wasn't a third ward chair. I know how the process works, and they're like, "Oh," I said, "So tell me." I said, for future interviews, tell me where I fell off, or how that all worked out. "Oh, we can't tell you that, Skoo." I'm like, "Why can't you tell me that?" "Well, that's confidential." I said, "My performance in an interview is confidential to me?" I'm like, "Okay, well," I said, "So, all right, so I'm not an architect. I've done other things, and I'm not qualified, so fine." So funny thing was, tying in the council meeting. So apparently they interviewed, there's 3 spots open. And that's what their whole rush to interview was, for filling 3 spots, right? And, Skoo, who served on a board, worked with the city, blah, 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 not qualified, right? Okay. City council meeting, I don't know if you were on at the beginning, but so the process for people, just so you understand, because I don't think a lot of the people on the caucus committee actually understand how processes work, even though they're part of it. And I don't think they understand what goes on a board or commission, because they've never been on a board or commission. And I really don't think, Pete, you could attest to this, I don't think they even go to boards or commission meetings to get an understanding of how they work, so they can interview people for those positions. But anyway, so, the start of the city council meeting was the approval of the new commissioners for HPC. You know how many people were approved out of the 3 spots open?
How many?
1. Let me see my finger. 1.
Wait, what percentage is that?
No, let me explain. So the mayor in these positions, so the caucus interviews you and says, "We're going to move these people forward to the mayor for approval." And then mayor approves it. It goes for city council for the rubber stamp, right? So they sent up 3 people, but only 1 got rubber stamped at the council meeting. You know why that is?
Why?
Because odds on the mayor declined the other 2 people that were sent up by the caucus. Here's my take on that.
So wait, they still need 2 people?
Oh yeah.
But you're not qualified.
I'm not qualified. Now they're back to square one to interview people, because it sounds like the mayor declined the 2 people that they thought were the best qualified candidates. And this gets back to the whole, now I could be wrong, but I saw 1 person rubber stamped at the council meeting. And that individual, I know him. He's a little newer to the community, doesn't have a history in Lake Forest, but I think he served on the caucus committee. Good guy, great guy. I think he'll do a great job on the commission. But the point I'm making is, and this is part of the problem, in my opinion, with the caucus committee, is that when you approve somebody, at least I'm going to use my background. When I was a third ward chair, when you go through the due diligence of interviewing people, and at the ward level and at the full caucus level, and you get voted on. And I got to imagine, I'm just going to throw this in there. My third ward didn't find the time for my interview to have all 9 people there. I just got to imagine the full caucus. Now, I didn't see it because it was a Zoom call and my screen did not enable for 40 people on my screen. So, but I'm just going to guess that all 40 people weren't there at that meeting either. But typically when that happens, so when you get pushed forward and you go through all this rigor to get to a board or commission, and then the caucus decides this is the candidate or candidates, they have to go to the mayor now and say, here's our candidates. And basically the trust path, so to speak, is that, the mayor and the council should not be involved, and they're not involved with how the caucus works. That's supposed to be the beauty of it, even though we know something like that doesn't happen. But anyways, so when the mayor gets those recommendations, they should be a rubber stamp, because that mayor is now having faith in the process that, yeah, it's gone through that rigor and these are good people. But when you have to decline someone or 2 people, the mayor does, what does that say about the caucus committee and their interview process? I mean, I've kind of, the caucus committee, it's great. I have nothing against the people and all that, but it really has kind of shifted, and no offense to you, Pete, and all that, to more of a newcomers club than taking people that want to volunteer, and maybe those people that are longtime people in the community, giving them, if they want to come up. And because you look at the profiles on the caucus committee, those, they're not, long-termers, not saying you have to be, but you should know something about the history of Lake Forest for any board or commission. I mean, not, and I say that not, and again, I say that not meaning people that have lived here forever are the only ones that should be on there. What I'm getting at is that if you raise your hand to be on the caucus committee to interview people for boards and commissions, number one, how many meet, once a month they meet, individual ward meetings, depending on, what the gravity of who they have to, yeah. But you're on there to volunteer, right? But that also means when there's a meeting once a month or twice a month, you show up. And, we've had this discussion before that people aren't showing up at these ward meetings. And that just defeats the purpose, because you have to vote on how do you interview someone when the full ward's not there? And then when that interview is done, the ward has to vote on the person. Well, I wasn't at the meeting. I don't know what his interview was like. So it's amazing, but that's a whole kind of, the frailty of that process is, and some may say, the mayor, it shouldn't be a rubber stamp, but really when the mayor's approving someone for a board or commission, he has that faith because he's not involved in the caucus process. He has that faith when something gets to my desk for approval and it's gone through the rigor, that these people are good. So how do you not take somebody? So that just fallbacks on the caucus. And here's another thing that really kind of scratches me in the wrong places the wrong way is the interview tactic that they take. They say, we're going to ask you a series of questions, and every candidate gets the same question. Again, fine, I'm okay with that. But if you have somebody who served on a board or commission prior, and is now being interviewed for another board or commission, and the other people that are interviewing have not served on a board or commission, don't you want to know more about what that candidate did on the prior board or commission? Because wouldn't you think that, boy, I want to go down that path with that person, because that he or she's going to be a better probably candidate for the next board or commission because they have experience in it. So having questions asked the same way, like nobody asked me, I'm going to go back to me again because it's all about me, right, Pete?
Yeah,
it's
you.
Not one question was asked of me about when I served on the rec board, what I accomplished on the rec board, what committees, what I did on the rec board, and how I can carry that over into the next board commission.
Skoo, hold on. If they didn't ask you that at the interview, why don't you answer that right here on the podcast?
Well, I will. But what I'm saying is, what the tactic was tell us about you, Skoo, and then why you deserve to be on the commission. And, I thought I answered that pretty well. But I think that, why do you deserve to be on the commission? I think that's a strange approach to ask a candidate when you have my profile and everything that I put down there. Shouldn't those questions be geared around the profile, not these generic questions that, or even generic question. I mean, I had one, and I shared this with you, and we're there, so I'll tell you. One of the big questions that I was asked was, "Hey, Skoo, you're on a podcast. Isn't that a conflict? Isn't that a conflict of interest? And if you get on this commission, what are you going to do?" I said, "Well, yeah, I'm on a podcast, and it has nothing really to do. It's not a conflict of interest, in my opinion. You asked me, it's not. I mean, we don't, we talk about fun stuff, things going on in Lake Forest. Nothing that is a conflict of interest." And one of the exec council people jumps in and says, well, so I said, you know what, if I get moved up to the HPC, I probably will think about maybe dropping off the podcast. And this exec council person then gets on and says, "Let me ask you a question. You just said that if you got moved up, you would get off the podcast, but it's not a conflict." "It is a conflict." And I said, "No, it's not a conflict. It has nothing to do. What we talk about has nothing to do with a decision that I would have to make on the HPC. It's not a conflict." And I said, the only reason I said I would probably step down from the podcast was because if the people interviewing me understood how much time and effort it takes to perform your duties on the HPC or any board or commission, plus the fact I have a business that I run and operate, plus the fact I announced, for the high school and all that, plus I have a family, maybe some stuff just might be too much on my plate, which I said probably the podcast I'd step down from if that was to happen. And it's not a conflict, but apparently it, in their eyes, and I know how it works. So I know the discussion afterwards that was had was probably, it's a conflict. So Skoo has a conflict, so we can't vote on him. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm pretty semi-smart guy. I know how stuff works. So, hey, I'm not saying I'm the greatest in the world, but I sure as hell can do an admirable job on any board or commission. And it's proven by the work I've done on the rec board, working with the staff, working on subcommittees, because you don't just get to be on a subcommittee when you're on a board or commission. In my case, the executive director asked me if I would represent the board on several subcommittees. So I said yes. So that's how things work. And yeah, I mean, I don't, they said no. Do I agree with them? No, I think I did. I'm raising my hand. I have no conflicts, and I do a great
I
job.
I don't think the mayor agrees with him either, and it's
I think, and particularly the HPC is a commission that is in disarray, and it needs a even keel person like myself to balance everything out, be able to look at things subjectively, and work with staff to come to resolutions. Unlike what's happened, here it's a reflection on, in my opinion, everything's a reflection on the caucus committee. When, like the HPC, 3 people, one was removed, and two other people just stepped down because there's a lawsuit pending because of whatever's happening with this issue. But that's a reflection where, of the caucus committee, because people aren't vetted the right way. And you get people that have not conflicts, but personal agendas hidden that are now put in positions. I mean, this lawsuit should never happen, in my opinion. Never should have happened. It's crazy. I mean, here's the thing. I mean, it's like, I believe one alderman voted to move forward with the building, and then a month later or so decided to go the other way, which created the dissension or something. And you hear some of these aldermen talk about, I'm doing what's right for my constituency. As an alderman, you don't have a constituency. Your constituency is the city of Lake Forest and what's best for the city, not for your ward people. Yeah, they vote for you, but no, I mean, when you're an alderman, it's the city. That's your constituency, and you have to be able to balance, how something is going to impact not only today, but into the future. And if it's going to be a positive impact or negative impact, you have to look out ahead of things and see that. And a lot of times that's not happening. I mean, I could just go through a litany of stuff that has not been approved in the city that now we look back, hindsight, going, shit, we should have had that. Costco, Whole Foods, gas station. I mean, but it's not thinking forward. And that's the problem that we're having. And it's not, I don't want to call it this newcomers club on the caucus committee, but if you don't look ahead, or you're just looking at right now, and then you're not staying here, or you're moving, you need a balance. I mean, the caucus committee needs a balance of past and present. And really, these people have to start doing their work and showing up at meetings, showing up at interviews, asking the right questions, and knowing who you're interviewing. I mean, if you're interviewing people that are on boards and commissions currently and wanting to be on another board or commission, your interview process should be strictly on what have you done on that board? How are you going to do that? And if someone's never been volunteered, then you can ask the silly questions like, why do you think you should be on there? Like that. I mean, you want to find out about a person. And the other thing is, before I get off my rant, is, was told, which is fact, that I wasn't chosen because I'm not an architect. And I'm
qualified.
I'm not qualified, and I'm not an architect. Well, here's my thing. The HPC, is a very recent commission. It's not an older commission. It was established, in 97 or something. And, but every petitioner that's coming to the HPC, right, is with their homeowner, or, it's the homeowner and a builder and, an architect, right? If I'm going to knock down a historic house and rebuild or add an addition, I'm going to have an architect and I'm going to have a builder. That's just the process, right? So if I have architects on a board or commission, and I look at that as competition, if I'm a petitioner as an architect, Isn't that a conflict? Shouldn't an architect be recusing themselves from, if they're on the BRB or if they're on the HPC and another architect comes to the as a petitioner? Isn't that a conflict? So why are we saying that you're not qualified because you don't have these skill sets? That it doesn't matter if you're an architect. What matters is, can you do the work? Can you devote the 3.5 hour meeting time and then the prep time before that? And can you bring some rationale to a discussion that sometimes might get contentious and emotional? And can you take an emotion out to balance off a commission so it doesn't stray down a path that leads to a potential lawsuit against the city and all that? I mean, it's just, that's what the responsibility of the caucus committee is. And that's the responsibility of the people that are moving forward to boards and commissions, is the commitment that they're going to do the work and not just show up and resume fill. And I hate to say it, a lot of these people are resume fillers because their boss says,
well, they're looking to network.
Well, yeah. Or, hey, Pete, you know what? Your next step is, an executive position or a higher position in the company, but you really should start volunteering in your community and all that. It's good to, show that you're not only a hard worker, but you contribute to the community. So these people are jumping on those opportunities, and then they go, holy crap, that's a lot of work. I don't have time to do that. I'm too busy. If you're on the caucus committee and you can't make one meeting, you don't have the time. So if you have to say, you know what, I'm not ready for this, it's not like the end of the world to step off it because you don't have time. But these people continue to just, I'm part of it, but I never show up. I mean, that defeats the whole purpose. And that's why I've always said, Pete, and you've heard this, that, I know as a newcomer, so to speak, that, things got to change on stuff. And I've always said, it's worked for 86 years. The process works. It's the people that derail the process. And that works not only on the caucus, but that works on in every walk of life.
I hear you, but how do you get new people into it? You know what I mean? To me, what I've seen is it's a big waste of time, and it doesn't.
And it shouldn't be.
But it is
for someone. I know it is, but that's the whole point. Is and this is what the
mayor doesn't even like it. If he's kicking out two of the people, he doesn't think it works. So why are we still doing it?
But the crossroads is what has to be done, and it's been done and talked about. But it really, I think it's up to the mayor or up to someone in the city, maybe the city manager or something, is a subcommittee has to be created, if that's the answer, to an outside group looking at the caucus process and really kind of just overview it and say, is it still functioning the way it should be? People and process. I mean, we shouldn't have executive committees coming in and out, changing the bylaws all the time. I mean, that's so, I've said this, that, maybe it's and I'm not saying this is the right way, but maybe it's a committee, an outside committee of past caucus presidents that kind of sit down and look at their process and make recommendations of how it can be improved. And someone's got to do a deep dive in why are we moving people up that, one, don't stay on boards or commissions or drop off, or why are, that's the whole thing is, we got to make sure the people are the right people. And we got to make sure we look at the process and take everyone. I mean, they it's a constant, we have this great database of names, but you're not using it because the great database of names has older community members, newer community members, and you're not tapping into it.
They live in Florida.
But that's fine. And that's fine. But those people, you know what they should throw out then? If you're not living here, obviously you can't, there shouldn't be a mayor, or not mayor, but an alderman or anyone that is on a board or commission. It's a fallout in Zoom. But if you're not living here, you're off.
Yeah.
Don't tell me because of Zoom I can meet anywhere. No, if you're not engaged, and that's, I think, the problem And the whole HPC debacle, again, my opinion, was a result of not the right people on there. And it got way too emotional individually on the committee. Too many people were thinking that, you know, they weren't looking at current, past, and future Lake Forest, but we're looking more at, you know, past and current. And it was, I think it got where it got really derailed, again, in my opinion, was the local neighbors around there. It was more about them and what's going to be close to them, as opposed to what's good for the city long term. And, you know, with historic preservation, you have to engage both past, present, and future. I mean, if you're just a flat out historian, guess what? There's no progress. And all you're going to do is you want to keep these older, beautiful buildings because of who the architect was or who developed them and all that. And then guess what happens to them? They're not up to code or anything like that.
Yeah.
So one, if you just leave them as is, they become deteriorated and eventually have to be knocked down. And I'll use the example of the Swift House. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but it's right in your backyard.
I'm not.
It was a huge, it's right over on Washington there, right across from the church. They have 3 new houses right now, or 2 new houses going up on the property. Okay. But the Swift home, it was a huge estate right at the corner of Triangle Road and all that. And, you know, the house, when Mom Swift passed, you know, the house, you know, I'm going to get this wrong. I'm sure someone will correct me. Yeah. But the siblings, the heirs, you know, they're looking at keeping the home and keeping the property and wanted to sell it. And of course, the city wanted, you know, it's restored and all that. But the cost alone to restore that beautiful, you know, structure was way too much. So what eventually happened was they knocked it down and sold the land, and now they're building, I guess, 2 or 3 or, you know, 4 homes on there. But that's, you know, what happens with these older buildings, you want to restore them, but if you can't, you know, now in its place are going to be newer homes, which again is fine, but that's looking to the future. And, you know, you got to have that perspective in mind, not just keeping old history, which would be great, but sometimes you can't. So the balance you have to have is all of that. You know, you have to have the history, you have to have the present, and you have to have the future, and you have to look at what's best for the city, not what's best for local and or just local people and all that. So I don't know. I mean, I think, you know, it got sideways. You know, it was a long, arduous process, but I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, there's a lawsuit, and now it's harder to get people on commissions and all that because they're afraid that, you know, is this going to happen? But you know what? It's not going to happen to you if you do things right and you show up and you know, you're balanced and can make clear-headed decisions, because that's what you're there on the board of commission to do. And I just think that's missing on a lot of them now. So you dragged me into this. I wasn't. You know,
I am sorry.
No, and I tell you what. I mean, I think it's crazy. You know,
what are we voting on Tuesday?
That I was turned down, but you know what? If I was asked again to volunteer, I would, because I think that's what I can bring is that thing, and I would do it again. But you know, I getting tired of people telling me I'm not qualified, and then seeing people that are put ahead of me that are even less qualified than I am, but they're, you know, whatever. But I thought it was interesting that 3 spots are open, and the city only approved 1 at city council. So that's a 33%, which is
what I'm
supposed to be a rubber stamp.
All those interviews, all the ill will that's out there, and then 2 out of 3 get rejected. It's like, why are we still doing this? But you know, you've been around a long time. I'm a newcomer. I get it. It's the people, but we don't even vet the people.
I know. That's what I'm saying, Pete. Vetting the people is not. Listen, when I was on the caucus, when the new exec committee was established, Everyone on that caucus committee knew how that process worked and had discussions on those people. And you were offered, everyone was offered. I remember in the 3rd Ward, we were supposed to ask our 3rd Ward caucus committee people, does anyone want to be on the exec committee? And if you did, I would have to bring it to the current exec that this person wants to do it. And there's discussions about it. And you know, when it was final, we did vote as a group on the exec committee, but it wasn't a question. You know, people weren't asking questions of the full caucus of, well, how does this happen? Everyone knew, and everyone was fine with it. And what the other thing was, everyone knew what was involved in the caucus council positions. So people weren't rushing to, you know, raise their hand and do it. But there was due diligence around who the next, you know, exec council was. At least that's when I was on there, for the years I was on there. And it just doesn't sound like it. It's just this following of this is how it was in the past. But again, it's the people in the current process that aren't doing what they should be doing, involving the entire caucus in a discussion. And, you know, you shouldn't be one person standing up, raising your hand going, hey, I don't understand how this works. Someone explain it to me. And then they're like, oh, Pete, you're a bad person because you keep asking questions. You know, that's the people problem that an outside group needs to kind of look at. And you know what the outside group can look at and say, you know what, we need to blow it up and hire a recruit. Well, that's what can come about of it. But someone's got to instigate that. And I think it's the mayor or the city manager or someone has to instigate kind of this review and make sure what's happened with the HPC never happens again. We should never have a lawsuit against the city because something was voted on that should never have been, you know, that's just crazy. And everyone's in the community is going to suffer because if that lawsuit goes through, you know, we're all impacted by it.
WOT, you know what WOT stands for? WOT, waste of time, Skoo.
Yep. But, and you know what, Pete, I agree with you. And I understand where you're coming from on your end, but it shouldn't be.
Okay.
You shouldn't be leaving saying that.
What are we voting for Tuesday?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Right. So 3 to 8.
That's why I said it in the beginning. What the hell is a 5-hour window to vote? What are we voting on? What does the community vote on? Who knows? But they're not telling.
You sure it's not the alderman, the nominations? No, that's in the.
It could be, but the alderman. I mean, if you're all 4 of those aldermen, Nancy Novitt included, if she's been moved and approved to move forward as the first ward replacement, that's all voted for. I mean, the caucus already voted for what, and why would the city, the residents, be voting for those members? I don't get it. Unless they're interviewing the 3 other aldermen that are, you know, up for their next terms, but I don't know why there's a 5-hour window. But then
if stuff is so important and we need this, then you would think there would be some instructions what you're supposed to do on the very website that that's kind of what I'm saying. It's like
education.
I'm even tired of talking about it, and that's saying something, Skoo.
No, I know. And you know what? I apologize for dragging that, but you asked, and I wasn't gonna. But
I know, but still, the mayor's probably tired of dealing with it too.
I think a lot of people are. And look what happened as a result. That's all I'm saying. It just shouldn't be happening.
All right, Skoo.
Come out and support the Scouts. Girls tonight at 5:30 and 7.
5:30 and 7.
And then a whole cavalcade at Scouts games next week. And also go support all your other Scout sports in the winter. Wrestling, swimming, everything.
And let us know what you find in the guys' washroom, Skoo. Thanks for listening to the Lake Forest Podcast. Please give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and smash that like button on Facebook, Instagram, and follow us on Twitter. Let us know what you'd like to hear about in the upcoming shows. Boy, that's all I need is more notes. Again, I'm Pete. It can be reached at pete@lakeforestpodcast.com. The link will be in the podcast notes. We thank our Patreon sponsors, Shark Guy Beach Fishing. They're the premier South Florida beach fishing experience out of Longboat Key, Florida. Their world-renowned captains not only put you on the fish, but they'll help you and your family make a memory of a lifetime. Check them out at Facebook or at sharkguybeachfishing.com. Contact them today to get schedule an outing. Shark Guy is your guy for your next charter. We also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Reverend Luke Back from the Church of the Holy Spirit, Matt A., Elizabeth B., Coastal Lance, Otto, and new supporter, Art M. On behalf of my co-host, Skoo Walker, we thank you for listening. Cue the music.